There are two sides to everything, two sides to every pole, two sides to every polar opposite, and two sides to every person who I think is the polar opposite of myself. Closer to the poles is a drag towards the center of it all, the center towards the tops of the world. Closer to the core of a person, this pole exists too. There is gravity in what lies beyond the frame, and below the surface of muscle and fat and bone. Roadmaps line the inside of my skin. Those roadmaps can make you become lost if you were to look at them with your own compass rose. There are two sides to every beginning, so I guess starting at the beginning of consciousness, awaking memories of the places that consumed my childhood, is most accurate. My skin itches with the same feeling of hives that raise bumps on your arms when you touch the fronds that make up cedar trees that cover the surface of Texas. My skin itches with the ingrained need for constant migration and immigration into different cultures and different lands. My feet are constantly restless, and my lungs crave the feeling of the crisp, clean air of places left untouched by those who wander off their paths. I will always be a foreigner to the Inuit people of Greenland. I will always blend in with the people of Iceland, and will always be awestruck by the lands of fire in Patagonia, as my everyday does not consist of working the lands and in the shipyards around it. From a very young age, my family was always moving from state to state and taking road trips across the country. My parents say it was because it was cheaper than flying, but I honestly think they just wanted my sister and I to be infected with the same bug that had bitten them, to become some sort of modern-day nomad. Wrapped up in desert blankets, hand-knitted scarves and ponchos, my sister and I were placed in the back of a white Durango and driven through countless county lines, lying on our backs in between the spaces between seats, memorizing the patterns of clouds that covered the landscapes of Arizona and New Mexico, before finally crossing over into our homeland of California. We constantly were driving back and forth from Texas to California, it seemed. Watching the sunrise from the second row of the van became the last part of every dream I had for years after, when the sky turned from navy blue to lavender and pink sherbet after. I remember how fast the traffic was at this time, before the small town in which we lived had grown, and before any of the commuters had awoken for the daily journey to their 9-to-5s. My dad didn't have one of those careers, and looking at it now, that made more sense to the spirit he inhabited than any desk job ever could. I could tell you the number of creases in each of the plastic leather seats, in almost every state capital from hours of reading the paper maps my mom folded in an old, ripped Ziploc bag. My mind hooks onto these small moments and things almost as tangible as the rocks I collected from each state and each rest stop we passed on every journey we took. This sudden itch that my parents had rubbed off on me then grew to a full-blown rash that overtook my entire body. My bones ached to move and find a sense of home across continents and passing through different cultures that I took into my own life. My feet led me to Iceland after years of drooling over the cloud-ridden land and the fluorescent green stripes rubbed into the mountainsides. I became so intoxicated with submerging myself so much into a culture and place as to dress similarly and pick up social cues from the inhabitants that resided in each of these countries. I covered myself in dark colors, becoming one with volcanic sand that speckled my palms from touching my fair share of glaciers, transforming my pale hands into thicker pink forms that became wet with every second passing. These hands are the hands of my father. In them I see the lines of our lineage in whispering patterns of veins, some stronger than others from making and crafting and climbing. The feeling of loosely folded paper still vibrates through my fingers, along with the taste of cheap chips from roadside stops. My father used to say that he was becoming more and more like my grandfather every day, from forgetting things to looking like a goober with his long socks and shorts, and retelling stories so much all you could do was sit back and listen, laugh after the same lines that you'd laughed at before. My memory of these moments are so vivid, even my dad's memory is fading as the years pass. One thing that comes along with the passage of time is the need and want to make moments last centuries and memories to last the length of life. The only true slowing of time comes from its dilation, which can only be reached by cruising at a similar rate to that at the speed of light. This crunching and expanding of time has been the force behind not only the wonderment that has been passed down like a seed through my family, but has also been the source of my own irritability in dealing with the mundane. I feel as though I'm too nostalgic for my own good. I haven't figured out yet if that's a good or a bad thing.